my money assumptions always comes true. And there's a problem with that, and I'm going to share it in this video. So maybe you experienced sometimes that you fear something, really fear something. Now we speak about money in this video, and your fear shows up. The thing you fear shows up. Maybe you have experienced like all over your body that you are so excited because something is going to show up in your life, and it shows up in your life. Now, I've seen this again and again, and I'm going to share a couple of examples in this video. And I'm also going to share from my experience, what this is all about, how your reality, how my reality is actually reflecting what it is that we assume will be true. So let's dive into it. See, first of all, I've seen a lot of people saying that manifestation doesn't work. I've heard a lot of people saying I just have to sit down and the things will show up. And the thing is, for me, it's all about experience. We can play with it, we can be curious around it, and we can see what happens. I have evidence from my stories that manifestation, the universe, my reality reflects when I send out a powerful enough energy, an assumption. And this is very powerful to understand. I've been an entrepreneur since 2012. I've ran my own businesses, did different businesses, and before that, since 1992, I've been a business manager and leader and operating companies. My biggest team was 500 people. So maybe you can relate to what I'm sharing, like really trying to manifest a better life, really trying to manifest freedom in the form of time and money and experiences in your life. And maybe you can also relate to the fact that you try to do things, you work harder, you hustle more, and whatever it is that you don't want, it keeps showing up. You know what I'm speaking about? Because I know how this is. I've been with this for so many years. I ended in a $1.5 million debt from this. Even though I hustled and grinded and I had my vision clear and I worked for it and all of these things, I ended up in the debt. Fact is, I assumed that it was going to happen. And this sounds crazy because who would assume that they would end up in a $1.5 million debt? But the fact is, after I began digging into myself and understand what's going on inside, I could begin to understand actually it's true what I just said. I did assume that bad things will show up in my life. So I got a couple of examples with you. If you can relate to this, maybe you are a business owner, maybe you are an entrepreneur, maybe you are a creator who really feels like there could be something else, but it's not happening like you want it. It's kind of like you end up in the same place all the time. So my belief here and what I'm sharing in this video is that when there is an assumption, when there is an impulse, an energy that is powerful enough, right now I'm sitting with that image that it's the whole body feels this and it's send it out there, and the universe will send something back that will make you feel that experience again. So let me share an example that came to me as I started thinking about this video. Back in the early 2000s, I started my property investment, and I had an idea to buy this big old apartment, like I don't know how many rooms, 8 rooms or something, in a very popular street in the area I am in Copenhagen, in Denmark. And at that time, it was very expensive, and it was the most expensive apartment I ever bought. and I was around 30 years old or something. So I signed. When I went into that apartment first time, I was like, this is me. I loved the view, and it was like an old apartment with these old things in the ceiling, and it was very classic and nice. And I had an idea I could renovate the kitchen, and I could do something in the bathroom, and I was like, this is me. So I signed the contract and I transferred the deposit. Again, this was the biggest till date at the time that I bought. I had already a few apartments, but they were smaller, they were less money. The day that I signed and transferred the money, when I went to sleep that night, I got into a fear mode. I don't know if you ever tried this, but my thoughts began ranting about, was this a stupid thing, and could I pay it, and did I have enough money, and what if the prices went down, and things like that. I went to fear mode. I was in catastrophizing mode. And my brain, my thoughts, my imagination, it went wild how much things could go wrong. And I felt it in my stomach. I had this pain in my stomach with the image of that apartment going in the wrong direction. And it kept on for a day or two. And this is a true story. I kept on with my work. I kept on with the things that I was doing. But I had this fear inside of me. I bought the apartment, I went into it, I began renovating it, began doing the things that I had in my mind. But I also had that energy from the first 1 or 2 nights. Deep inside of me, some kind of fear. Something bad would happen. True story. So I began renovating the kitchen, and everything was okay. It worked out. The only thing was that it became much more expensive than what I've budgeted to in my budget to renovate it. Now the year after, I went to Brazil, and so I was far away, and I'm not sure how good the mobile phones was at that time. But when I came back 2 weeks after, there were messages all over my door, and I could see that the door had been breaking in or whatever. And there was a message that I had to email or call the chairman of the building that I was in. And I did so. And then I saw what went on. A couple of days after I left for Brazil, a radiator, a heater in one of the rooms it's an old apartment. There was a leak in it. It broke or something. So water was just running out of it. And the people living below me, this was third or fourth floor. The people on third floor, they were also on vacation. So water ran down their apartment, but they were not home. This is a crazy thing, but it's true. The people under them on the second floor, they were home, and they began seeing water coming in. So they reacted, and they went into the apartment above, and they saw it wasn't there, and then they went into my apartment because they have to fix it, right? So it went down 2 floors, all this water. And when I came home and I experienced this, I had the same feeling. This is what I'm speaking about. I had the same feeling in my body. Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? I had the same feeling that I had the first night. Something bad would happen. This is what I'm saying. Sending it out and it's returning. Here's the experience you asked for. It's kind of crazy, right? So that was one thing. Now, some months later, I started doing the renovation on the bathroom. So I started taking down the tiles and all of this, and I've done these things before. But this time, something was wrong. I saw this smells different, and it's kind of like it's rotten or something. So I went into this, I began doing the work, and I was like, there's something wrong. And I called up my brother, who is much more handyman than me, and he came and he helped me, and he said, there's something wrong. So I had again to contact the chairman of the building and said there's something wrong here because it's not as it's supposed to be. And he contacted some, I don't know what this is called in English, but it's rotten or some I don't know if the right word is mushroom or bacteria or something in the wood. So we had to get a company in there. So I couldn't use the bathroom for, I don't know how much that was, 2 or 3 months. And there was a big insurance thing here because it had to be dried up. This took longer, maybe 6 months. And they had to do a lot of chemical things on this, so they were sure that it was not something that could ruin the whole building. It took so long, and I couldn't use my apartment for real in those 6 months. And here's the thing. At that time, I felt the same thing in my body. I was like, why is this happening for me? To me? Why? And I had this fear feeling in my stomach, the same thing that I experienced the first night or two after I signed the contract. So, and this has happened many times for me in both directions. And maybe you can, okay, I've experienced this too. So, and because I did the work and I'm aware about this, I see the connections between these two. I send out a strong signal, and the thing that I fear comes back to me. There's an experience, so I can feel it again. So think about this for you, if you want to, for your own situation. Okay, when bad things happen, how do you feel? And did you, at some point before on your timeline, have the fear, maybe even in a nightmare where it really got heavy inside of you that this would happen or something similar to it? So that's the bad direction. Let's take a good direction. I've shared this before, but when I made the decision, instead of going into destruction, that I would solve my $1.5 million debt, I had this feeling all over me. That was a decision. I decided. I had so much power inside of me. This is my image. I sent out that signal and I felt I can handle this. I can solve this. I was so convinced. I was full of power. And like I mentioned before, synchronicities kept showing up for me all of the time. And I ended up with 60 people in my team with my own company, and I paid off the debt in 4 years. Synchronicities kept happening, and I kept feeling inside that power inside of me for those 4 years and also a couple of years after. So does this make sense? And also I've seen this, so a smaller case with in the good and bad direction. The bad direction, maybe you know this if you're a business owner. When I had my cleaning, my professional cleaning business, I went to meetings, sales meetings. I made contracts with new customers, and then sometimes I had this feeling, painful feeling inside of me that I would lose that customer or there would be problems with a thought, right? I guess what happened, maybe a month, maybe 2, maybe 6 months after, whatever I thought about and the feeling that was connected with it showed up in my reality. Then I had issues with the customer, or they were not happy, or they complained, and I tried to make them happy, and I had that knot in my stomach again. Or sometimes, if we take the good path here, I've experienced, maybe you have too, that, and this is actually a relationship, I some years ago, many years ago actually, I was going to a vacation, and before going on that vacation, this was with 4 friends at the time, I had this feeling that something amazing would happen. And before that, some months before that, I had a feeling inside that there was a woman waiting for me. Like, it was just like a notch, intuition, some might say, but it was a happy, loving feeling inside. And guess what? I went to Cyprus with my friends. Cyprus, it's not in the country I live in. And in Cyprus, on, I don't know which day, but maybe after 3 or 4 or 5 days, there was this young woman showing up. And all of the guys were like, whoa, they wanted to be in contact with her because she had a loving energy and she was a loving woman and she looked very, very nice. So we all liked her. We all kind of wanted to talk with her. And you guys, right? So, but after maybe one night or something, 2 nights, she came to me. She wanted to speak with me. And here comes the fun part, because she said she's been thinking about me for so many years. And I didn't really understand it. And then she told me we lived in the same city. Crazy, huh? So we were in Cyprus, in another country. And we came from the same small city in the country we live in. And she knew me for so many years. And we had some amazing years together. We're not together anymore. We had some amazing years together. And that feeling inside when I was with her, and also the first nights, it was exactly the same feeling that I had some months before that. So when we become aware of this, we can begin to play with this. We can begin to play with, okay, what is it that shows up in my reality? How did I manifest this? And then we can go back and we can find it and we can say, okay, that's it. I believe today, when it's strong enough and it's sent out there, and also we have to take some kind of action. I mean, I didn't meet her in my own city. I met this woman in Cyprus, and the same thing with the customers, the great customers I worked with, and how I solved my debt. It didn't come by accident. I did do the things. I did show up. I did take to London where I was punched by intuition that I had to go there to a seminar. I did show up for a call with the guy who became my coach for the 4 years growing my company. I did show up for all of these things. So it's not about just sitting and not doing anything. It's about becoming aware. And when something is not nice inside of us, when this fear is showing up, and that's why I created the 7-day manifestation reset challenge. When the fear is showing up, we can become aware about it. And we can, instead of letting the fear control us, we can let it just be there, and we can let it regulate, let it transform, let it shift, which makes more freedom, and which makes, in my opinion, what I've seen is that we will not send too much out there. On the other hand, when there's an intuition, something strong, people see it differently. Some people see visions or visualize it, but not with force. It shows up inside of them, or a feeling. That's how I've experienced this, something very nice going on. For me, the feeling of what I'm doing right now with these videos and the next step in my community, in manifestation community, is showing up for me now. I'm not forcing, it's just showing up. And then I take action when I feel there's something showing up for me here. So I hope this makes sense, and I hope this helps you. And I'm a bit more energetic here than I've been in some time. And I think it's because I feel that power now. I begin to feel it again. Also, the first step of this is becoming aware what's going on inside. What am I thinking? There's a formula for this. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And from there, we take actions. And those actions create a result. I didn't invent the formula, but it's been working for me for many years. In the bad direction and in the good direction. And I prefer the good direction. So I play with this now. And that formula and that becoming aware, I created the 7-day manifestation reset challenge. This is a challenge with no strategies. It's a challenge with no more pushing and grinding and all of these things. It's the only thing about this challenge is to get inside of yourself and become aware what's going on. That's the first step before we do anything else. If you want to join it, it's free, cost zero. It's in our community, manifestation community, and that is free too. And we are nice and easy and slowly growing. And you're more than welcome. If this resonates with you, then I know you're the right one. The link is below this video, and I would love to see you in there. See you in the next video.